What's up, everyone? Hope you're doing well. Patch 16.2 comes in with a very specific goal, and you can feel it almost immediately from the first stage of the game all the way to late game boards. The first thing that really stands out is how encounters are being reshaped. Gwen entering the encounter pool doesn't sound huge on paper, but it subtly changes the rhythm of games. She doesn't appear often, but when she does, she does. It adds another layer of unpredictability to early and mid-game planning. To make room for her, Riot slightly lowered the chances of several existing encounters, which means you're less likely to see the same opening patterns game after game. This might sound small, but for anyone who plays a lot, it actually makes lobbies feel fresher and less scripted, especially when you're trying to plan econ routes or streak strategies. Then there's the big shift with emblems, which is honestly one of the most important changes in the entire update. Emblems were starting to feel like a compromise item, something you used only if the game forced you into it. That's no longer the case. Most emblems now give significantly more raw stats, and some of them are borderline insane compared to what we had before. Health values got bumped up massively, and many emblems now give combinations of AD, AP, or defensive stats instead of just a token bonus. What this means in real games is that slapping an emblem on a unit no longer feels like you're weakening them just to chase a trait breakpoint. Now it actually feels rewarding, and in some cases, optimal. Vertical comps benefit a ton from this, but even flexible boards feel stronger when you commit to an emblem line. On the champion side, Riot clearly went after some of the most oppressive late-game threats. T-Hex in particular had been warping entire lobbies, especially when players could stabilize early and coast into an unbeatable late-game monster. The changes here hit multiple angles at once. Mana generation was reduced, shielding was toned down, and damage fall-off became more noticeable. The result is that T-Hex still feels powerful, but it no longer deletes entire boards without counterplay. You now actually have windows to fight it, reposition against it, and punish weaker setups. Other high-cost units also saw adjustments aimed at pulling them back into line, not deleting them from the game, but making sure they don't automatically win fights just by existing. Items also saw some meaningful tuning, and one of the biggest offenders finally got addressed. Kraken's Fury was stacking way too efficiently, especially on fast-attacking carries, and it created situations where fights were decided purely by whether or not someone had it fully stacked. Cutting the maximum attack speed in half doesn't kill the item, but it definitely stops it from snowballing out of control. You still want it in the right situations, but now it's a decision instead of an autopilot slam. On the flip side, radiant items across the board feel better. Many of them gained extra survivability or damage stats, which helps late game boards feel more explosive without relying on a single broken interaction. Traits were adjusted in quieter but meaningful ways. Some underperforming traits got small number buffs that won't jump out immediately, but over the course of many games, they add up. Others that were dominating early lobbies had their strongest effects shaved down just enough to make room for counterplay. The overall effect is that fewer comps feel completely unbeatable, and more comps feel viable if you play them well. That's always a good sign for the health of the game. Augments also went through a cleanup phase. A few options that were either too polarizing or too difficult to balance were temporarily removed. This isn't Riot giving up on them. It's more like putting them back in the workshop. At the same time, some high-economy augments had their payouts lowered, which slows down how quickly players can hit unstoppable late-game boards. You'll notice this most when trying to fast 8 or fast 9. You can still do it, but you actually have to manage your gold and HP carefully, instead of relying on one lucky augment to carry you there.